Welcome to the Knitter's Gotta Knit podcast, Stitch 10.
Welcome. I am Darlene, Awesome Granny on Ravelry, and Bags by Awesome Granny on Instagram.
I'm Carrie, and on Ravelry, my username is I'm a Knitfomaniac, and on Instagram, it's just Knitfomaniac. So, it's been 3 weeks since we've recorded. Most of that is by my error of not counting correctly on the calendar, and then when we were going to record last week, somebody got shingles.
Yeah, right after Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We had a house full, and it was fun, but it was a lot of drinking and a lot of cooking and a lot of doing dishes, but we had a wonderful time. But right after Thanksgiving, I noticed I had this weirdness going on behind my ear, and I had Bruce take a picture of it, and I sent a picture of it to Shyla and sent a picture of it to Carrie, and we didn't know what it was, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor didn't know what it was. She was like, I'm not sure, because I went really really quick after it came up, because it was weird. It wasn't one of those rashes that itched. It didn't itch at all, but it hurt. It would just give me like these sharp pains, and it was just the weirdest sensation. So I went to the doctor, and my doctor, and she didn't know what it was, and she told me, she said, I'll call you in a prescription of antiviral in case it is shingles, because she kind of thought it might be, because Shyla told me, she said, Mama, that's shingles, my doctor daughter. And she said it was and Shyla said, Mama, that's shingles. And I was like, well, okay. So the doctor wasn't sure, and so she called me in a prescription, but I didn't pick it up because I didn't want to take it if it wasn't the shingles. So I went to work the next day and went down to the clinic at work, and I couldn't see the doctor, but I saw the nurse. And the nurse said that it wasn't shingles, that it was eczema. And I was like, but eczema itches. And I told her, I said, I've never had... Eczema don't itch?
No, it does itch.
It does itch. Okay,
your
mine
spots didn't itch.
And I told her, I said, I've never had any skin issues. I've never had skin like
psoriasis,
I've never
eczema,
had any. I've never had any of that. And so I really wasn't buying her theory because I didn't feel good. I kept having these pains, and this thing was getting bigger, and it was going up into my hair and kind of down on my neck. And I had an appointment with the clinic doctor the next day. Wednesday. And I went down there, and she was like, yep, it's shingles. So she called me in an antiviral and a pain pill. Mm-hmm. And then I missed a couple of days of work, and I missed Thursday and Friday. And I just felt lousy that whole weekend that we were supposed to record. I felt terrible this whole week. And besides the feeling bad, you're just exhausted. It's like it's an effort to...
shower.
To get off the couch, or out of the recliner. So it hasn't been a very fun couple of weeks. So,
and the doctor says it can last for months.
She told me, oh my gosh, I'm spilling my coffee everywhere.
That's all right.
She told me that once the visible signs go away, that it can take a month or so, at least a month or so, in a healthy person, for the pain to go away and the fatigue to go away. And it's like, well, that's exciting news. So,
yay me!
So that's why we didn't record last week, is because it was like, it just wasn't. It hasn't been a good couple of weeks.
It wouldn't have been a good recording anyway. So, and so with Darlene having the shingles, I just have to let you guys know how crazy I am. And I swear this did not click until the second that I was in the doctor's office. But let me explain. So I woke up, she got the shingles 2 Mondays ago. The Sunday night right after Thanksgiving. She saw the spots, and then she was diagnosed that Wednesday, and she, stayed home Thursday, Friday, and all last weekend. And, she's been at work this week, but it's still bothering her, whatever. Well, this past Tuesday, a whole week and 2 days after she got her thing, I woke up with these sharp shooting pains behind my ear in the exact same spot as Darlene's. And I have not connected this to Darlene's shingles at all. And it felt like somebody stabbing an ice pick, like up and in right here. And I've never had a headache like that. All my headaches are like up in the front, temple, maybe a little sinus, but usually right here in my temples. And And I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I took some painkiller and I went to work, and it started to get worse. And towards the mid-afternoon, I sent my boss a note and I said, you know, I have no clue what this pain is. I've never had a pain, anything like it, but I'm going to go home and take some, you know, stronger pain medication and, you know, just lay down. And so I did. I lay down and took a Tylenol 3 and I took a nap, and then I got up and I still had the pain, and, you know, I was kind of groggy, whatever, and I still went to bed normal time even after I'd taken that nap or whatever. And then I went to work the next day, Wednesday, and I tried to get an appointment at the clinic downstairs. We have a clinic at our work, and I couldn't get in.
It's really hard to get in. They are booked all the time.
I actually tried to get an appointment at the clinic Tuesday night as I was sitting at home, and it wasn't getting any better. I logged in on my phone through our work, and I tried to get on the network and get an appointment, and there was nothing. But there was something for Thursday morning at 8:15. So I went ahead and booked the Thursday morning 8:15. I went to work Wednesday morning, and they still didn't. I thought maybe there'd be cancellation, and there wasn't. So I called my doctor, and my doctor could get me in at 11:45. So I told my boss, I said I'll leave, you know, around 11 or whatever, and go to my doctor and see what my doctor says. Well, at some point in the morning, I just thought, let me keep checking just to see if there's an opening downstairs. Well, there was an opening, 9:15. So I snagged it. I booked it, and that was in like 10 minutes from me booking it. I booked it like 9:05. I had a 9:15 appointment. So I went down there, and mind you, this is the same doctor that Darlene saw. So she knows what Darlene has, and of course, I haven't put two and two together because I don't know what Darlene's pain is like. I just knew that she had those spots behind her neck and she wasn't feeling good, that it was painful. That's all I knew. So I'm describing this pain to the doctor, and she's like, well, it could be pre-shingles. And I thought, oh my God, I never once thought of that. You know, but I don't have a, she goes, do you have a rash? And I said, I don't know. I can't see behind my ear, you know. So she looked and she says, no, you don't have a rash. So she gave me the same painkiller. She was going to give me the antiviral just in case I got the rash. And then she left the room, and she came back and she says, I don't know that it's pre-shingles. I'm going to still give you the painkiller, but I'm going to give you an anti-inflammatory to see if this can help you. So I went back upstairs and I told Darlene I don't have to leave to go to the doctor, and this is my pain. And she says, that's exactly what my pain is. That's exactly what the shingles feels like. I said, well, that's probably why the doctor said it's pre-shingles. But Darlene and I, being the doctors that we are, I have come to the conclusion that they're just sympathy shingles. They're just fake shingles because I want to be exactly like Darlene.
She does.
Whenever she gets something, apparently I just turn right into it and I just go with it or whatever.
It was really pretty funny.
It was pretty funny because I didn't know what her pain was like, but yet I was getting the pain, and I never got the rash. And I still get it every once in a while, but I don't get it very often.
That's good.
So, and I don't have the exhaustion that Darlene really has. I'm pretty much okay, but I do take the painkillers and the anti-inflammatories like she told me to. So, and I have a follow-up this week that she'll see me.
That's good.
And see what she says. But I just thought that was funny. That was
funny.
Sending her a message, she's like, that's exactly what my pain is like. And then the doctor's like, pre-shingles. So apparently I'm just a copycat.
Well, and then I went and I had an appointment that day with the same doctor, a follow-up from my appointment last week. And I asked her, I said, is it possible that I've infected the whole bank? And she, because I stayed at work. And she told me no, that to get, to give somebody the shingles, it has to really be skin to skin.
I would have had to like touch her blisters or something. And
so I felt better about that because I thought, oh my gosh, I think I've infected the whole bank.
The whole time that Darlene had the shingles, her first week of having shingles, I only saw her one day. And it was just Wednesday, and just during knitting, and then she went home and she stayed home.
The rest of the week.
Yeah, the rest of the week. I took off Thursday, and half a day Thursday, and Friday. My mom had an oncologist appointment Thursday, but then Thursday night, Jaime and I went out for his birthday. His birthday was Wednesday, the 29th. So so we went out for that, and then took the day off and stuff on Friday. So he had a nice birthday, and then he ended up getting sick.
That's terrible.
He went to the hunting lease, and he called me later that night, and he says, I'm sick as a dog. And he sounded terrible. He sounded really terrible, and he ended up coming home early. He didn't shoot anything, and he came home early and he just rested and rested. I said, don't come over here. If you've got the flu, he works for FedEx sometimes, does some work for them. And he talked to one of the FedEx guys and the guy says, yeah, we've got this like 24-hour flu bug going around. And I was like, really? Because I think I caught it, you know.
I know over Thanksgiving, Tim was sick. I mean, really, he was sick about 4 days leading up to Thanksgiving, and he was feeling better Thanksgiving, but still not back 100%. To his, you know, normal self. And Shannon was sick. Shannon was so sick that he almost didn't come Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And he, his girlfriend gave him some antibiotics that she didn't take when she was sick.
Yeah.
And so he started taking those, and he started feeling better, but he wasn't his 100% self at Thanksgiving either. So there's really been stuff going around this winter.
And then copycats.
Well, and then Carrie was supposed to come over. I wanted her to come over and you know, visit my family on Thanksgiving and, you know, see my brother and stuff.
But Paige had other plans.
Paige got lockjaw. So Carrie ended up.
We were in the ER
all
Thursday
night, and I was bummed for Paige because I mean I know she's had that happen before and it's very painful. But I was also bummed for myself because I wanted Carrie to come over.
And I wanted to go over, but we didn't end up leaving that. So, I didn't get home till 11 o'clock that night, and we probably went to the ER at 5 or 6.
Yeah, it was early when you texted me and said y'all were going.
So we have our Thanksgiving holiday pretty early in the day. My aunt gets servicemen, airmen, women too. Happen to be 2 men this time, but we've had women in the past. And so we have to get them really early from the base. My uncle goes and gets them really early from the base. And I think they have to be back around 4 or 6 or I don't know the exact time.
It's pretty early.
But it's very early that they have to be back. So we can't really have a late Thanksgiving, which is fine with me. I'm all for having it early. So we usually eat around 1. And we ate a little bit later than normal. Yeah, so around 5 or 6, or I don't remember what time it was, Paige's her entire jaw locks, and it locks forward, like TMJ. And I've taken her to see the best doctors, oral maxillofacial doctors, and all sorts of stuff. And really, her only route to go is surgery. And she does not want to have the surgery. They would have to go in, and they basically have to. So she's got this bump on her bone. Everybody's got this bump on their bone. But Paige's is small enough that her lower jaw can get under that bump on the bone, but still big enough that that lower jaw can't get back sometimes. So they'd have to literally like go in and shave something or like make a new like little indent or whatever and for the jaw to, you know, stay in place. I mean, it would still move and everything, but you know, there's like a 14% chance that, you know, they could hit a nerve. She could, you know, become paralyzed on one side of her face. And when I took her to the doctor, she was about, you know, 16 or 17 years old. And she's like, hell no, I ain't doing that. And I thought, well, I don't blame you. So we have some muscle relaxers as a prescription that she gets. So if she can take the muscle relaxers pretty quickly after her jaw locks, she can usually massage it and get it back. And she took 2 muscle relaxers immediately after it locked, but she could not get it back in. So we had to go to the emergency room, and it was the most inefficient emergency room visit I have ever been to. And, you know, I've been to quite a few emergency rooms. When Antonio was young, he had RSV a lot, and we'd have to go to the emergency room for him for that. And, you know, when you have a respiratory issue, the emergency room takes you back almost immediately. So Antonio was always seen pretty quickly. You know, Paige didn't have that life-threatening of you know, emergency. But at the same time, we couldn't fix her emergency. Because they either have to give her some really strong painkillers, and then, you know, the doctors go in with their hands and everything. They got to pull it down and put it back. Or they'll knock her out. You know, they'll just completely put her to sleep and then put it back and then, you know, let her wake up again. And, this is the second time we've had to go to an emergency room to have it put back. So, but there was nothing emergent in that emergency room that night. People are just lollygagging around and talking, and, you know, the nurses are chit-chatting, and I'm just like, hello, we're here. You know, what are we waiting for? And then they're like, oh, we're going to have a specialist come see you. And I was like, I'm not sure if you guys listened to a word I said. But Paige doesn't want to see a specialist. I told you, I've taken her to doctors. The only thing she can do is have surgery. She doesn't want to have surgery. So sending your specialist down here is a waste of time. You know, just, we need to get her IV out of her arm and go. I mean, I was this close to pulling the IV out of her arm myself. And it wasn't like a whole, like, bagged up IV. It was just the little port or whatever, which I know that's still bad and I shouldn't be pulling that out or whatever. But they finally, you know, got somebody in there and pulled that out. And then we got home. At one point, I left the emergency room and I had to run and go get Paige's dog, Jazz, had been in a cage since about 11:30 when we, you know, went to my aunt's house. We were planning on being home around 5:30. And, but no, we went to the emergency room and I said, Paige, Jazz has been in a cage, you know, because she crates her during the day. And we got to get home and get her. So I left the emergency room. I had to run and go get Jazz. And then I took her to my house. And then I went back to the emergency room. I had Antonio with me. And then we came home and they spent the night here. But it was one long, crazy night.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
I had a few other things this week.
Well, go ahead.
Well, first I want Darlene to tell about the hamsters.
Oh,
because everybody's been following the rat/hamster story.
So, but first I wanted to say that Peyton was going to be with us today.
Yes.
And then my son-in-law and my grandson went on a hunting overnight thing. So Shyla and Peyton were having a girls' weekend. So Peyton will join us probably after the first of the year. But so to the hamsters, Shyla, you know, she had the two hamsters that I think her name are Gracie and
Gabby or something.
Yeah, they're very good. Gracie and Gabby. Well, Shyla said, you know, she has a chinchilla, a turtle, 2 hamsters, 3 dogs,
2 kids and a husband.
2 kids and husband. And she said that, you know, she loves her turtle. Her turtle is like that's her favorite pet is her turtle. And then the chinchilla plays with her schnauzer through the cage. You know, they like to pick at each other. So they, you know, that's fun. But
that's like that movie Bolt. You know, where like that little hamster talks to the dog.
Yeah, that's kind of the chinchilla and Shyla's schnauzer. Well, Shyla said that the hamsters were just gross. She said that when she comes home, when she opens the door, she can smell them. No matter how clean the cage is, that she can always, you know, they have that, I guess, that
smell. That
rat smell, you know, that rodent smell. I mean, I can smell rodents, you know, and so, and she said, Mama, I can't deal with that. And so she asked Peyton if it was okay if they, you know, rehomed them, found them at a good home, and Peyton said that was fine as long as they went to a good home. She was okay with getting rid of them. So Shyla put on her Facebook that, you know, 2 hamsters with all the goodies, you know, cage and everything, free to a good home. So the hamsters went to a new home with a 6-year-old little boy, I think.
Oh,
so
that's exciting. That's
so now,
great.
you know, and Shyla just had too much. Shyla and Tim, they haven't decided quite yet where they want to, like, buy a house at and stuff. So they live in a duplex, and it's probably about, I don't know, 1,300 square feet. So it's small. And it, you know, for all of the people and animals they have in this house. And Shyla's just like, we just don't have the room. We don't have the, you know, so she downsized 2 hamsters. She has so much more room now.
Oh, yeah, so much more. 2 little hamsters.
Yeah. But she said she just couldn't handle the smell. So
I don't blame her.
I agree with that. I couldn't either.
Yeah, I probably couldn't either.
So hopefully that's the end of the rodent stuff at Shyla's house. Yeah.
All right.
So
all right, no more rodents. So that'll be good. So last time when we podcasted about 3 weeks ago, I completely forgot to let you guys know that Antonio got his yellow belt.
That's so awesome.
It was about 2 or 3 days right before the podcast last time. I went to his karate thing. He goes to a karate daycare type thing. I think I've mentioned it on a podcast before, how Paige waited to the last minute to get an after school care for him, and then found this one, and he loves it. And they start as a white belt, and then they go to, I think this place has like a yellow belt with a white stripe, and then a yellow belt with a green stripe, like a dark forest green, and then you go to yellow belts with a black stripe, and from there you either go to like purple or orange or something.
That's awesome.
So he got his yellow belt with a white stripe, and he was so excited. I have some pictures. Paige took some pretty good pictures that I've either already started to insert them, or I'll be inserting them right around here. But he really, really loves it. So I had to let everybody know that he made his yellow belt. So.
That's awesome. Well, I have a few updates on my grandkids. Peyton got glasses.
I think she looks cute in glasses.
And I sent you that picture, didn't I?
I'll put it in.
And so I think she looks cute in her glasses. And then Brinley got second place last weekend at state for her motocross.
I think that is fabulous.
I think that's great, because this year she was in a faster group, because she had to move up this year. And I mean, those kids are fast.
I bet they are.
Casey said that she did, she was making a few jumps and stuff that, was making him, like, nervous. His heart stop just a little bit, But he said that she was going fast enough that she seemed to him to be like she was a little bit out of control on her jumps, but she landed all of them okay, so I guess she wasn't. Maybe she just looked like it. I mean, because the faster these kids get, the crazier it looks. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure. But I'm proud of her. She did really, really good.
That's so awesome.
And then my grandson this is his second deer. He got a deer last year when him and Tim went hunting, but he got a doe last year. Well, he got an 8-point buck this year.
That is so fabulous.
And it's a nice deer. I mean, it's a, big, thick neck. And I mean, it was a really, really nice deer. And I was telling Carrie the other day that the really cool thing about my son-in-law is he has a couple of deer leases that he's on in Castroville. We don't know how other people do hunting, but in South Texas, people have hunting leases. They pay to be able to go set their stands up and hunt. Well, at this one lease that he's at, there's about 5 different guys on there, so there's 5 different stands, throughout this ranch. And there was this 8-point that they've been watching. And I was so proud of, like, hunters, because this kind of makes me a little teary. This deer was a nice deer. I mean, he was one that any grown man hunter would like to get. I mean, he was a nice deer. And Tim wanted Trenton to get that deer. And all of the people on his lease, they all wanted that deer, but they all agreed that they would let Trenton have first shot at the deer. And I just think that's so awesome.
That is awesome.
It makes me a little teary a little bit.
That is very, very awesome.
That wouldn't account for if he jumped the fence and went to the neighboring.
Of course,
then the neighbors, would have like got him. But Trenton got his deer, and he skinned it, and he gutted it and skinned it, and helped Tim, process it enough to where whatever they do to take it and have it cut up. I don't know exactly what they're doing with it, but Trenton helped with all that. And then the next weekend, Shyla got a doe with her bow.
I think that's awesome with her bow. That's got to be hard. I would think that's hard, but
so Tim hadn't got a deer this year, but his wife and his son both got deers, and he was so proud of them. I told Shyla, I said, "Who's more proud, you and Trenton or Tim?" And Shyla's like, "Pretty sure it's Tim."
He's pretty proud.
So he was pretty proud. Daddy husband.
Jaime shot a deer. He called me yesterday. He got me a deer. So Jacob shot one. I think it was Jacob's. It might have been Aaron's. I don't remember. But we've already had one, and I already picked it up from processing. And I told him, I said, "You need to give me another one. Got to fill up that freezer." I cleaned it out a few weekends ago, so it's ready for more meat. But he called me last night, and he says, "I got you a buck." That's awesome. I was really excited.
I love that sausage, so yay.
Yay.
I like the hard sausage.
I like it too. I like the dried sausage also. So he said he's going to call. He probably won't come back into town till tomorrow. And when he's there, he'll call me and ask me, what all I want to get done and stuff. And I love the jerky too. I'm a big jerky girl.
I love the jerky too, but I love that dried that hard sausage you get. It's so good.
There was this one place out in Comfort, which isn't too far from us, 2 years ago, where we would take our deer for processing, and their dried sausage, I think, was the absolute best.
It was good.
It was I just loved it. It was just phenomenal. It was like my kind of sausage. And then they sold, there's a meat market part of it, and then there's the deer processing part of it. They kept the meat market part at the front, and they sold off the deer processing part to this young couple. And I think they just got way in over their head. And our first deer that we had processed there just took forever to get to us. And it was okay. And then the next deer that we had processed also took forever, but it was really sloppily done. It didn't taste as good. You'd get big chunks of salt in one spot or pepper in another because they were just too busy. They didn't know what they had gotten into. And, you know, he was a little cocky and she was kind of a little, you know, Miss Mary Frou-Frou, whatever, in my opinion. But, and I just don't think they knew what they got into, and their customer service was not the greatest, and they just, you know, it just was not as good. So we had to find another place, and, you know, there's a lot of places around here where you can take your deer to get processed, or, you know, Tim, he does his own processing. So, but Hobby and I don't
take some of his to it. There's a meat market deer processing place in Castroville.
It's called Zooks. We've gone there before.
I think that's it.
No?
Dukes.
Dukes, yeah, Dukes. We've taken ours there before in the past, but not recently. But there's one right down the road that we go to quite a bit. So he'll call me tomorrow, and that's our deer life here. So
over Thanksgiving, when Shannon and Billy got here, you know, y'all all know I was worried about Shannon's sweater being too big.
She was.
And guess what?
Was too big.
It was too big.
The sleeves were too long.
Well, the body was a little bit too big, but he would have been okay with the body, you know, but it was a little bit too big. But the sleeves were way too long,
super long.
Like 6 inches too long. So my brother, who is a lot bigger man than my nephew, he tried it. Billy was like, "Let me try that sweater on." Well, Billy put it on, and it fit Billy perfect, and it looks great on him. So. You know, I told Shannon, I said, just give it to your dad, and I'll make you another one.
Oh, she just loves making these sweaters so much. She's making another one.
So now I got it, and Shannon, he was like, is it going to take 4 years to get it? Because, I mean, he's been asking for a sweater for like 4 years, and I told him, no, I would try to get it, you know, sometime this year. But, yeah, in 18, not 17.
She can't do 17
so,
still.
It was funny because we made him a blanket. I made him this crochet blanket, and I had it on Billy's bed when he got there, and I had Shannon's sweater on his bed when he got there. And, well, Billy ended up with and Bruce, my husband, made Billy a knife. You know, a deer antler knife with a blade.
But it was Billy's birthday
It was Billy's birthday, but so Billy was getting a knife and a blanket, and Shannon was getting a sweater. Well, Billy ended up with a knife, blanket, and sweater,
and Shannon got nothing.
Billy told Shannon, said, "Boy, this was just a big F you this weekend, wasn't it, Shannon?"
And he was sick. He wasn't feeling good. Sick. Poor guy.
So I know. So, and I told, and he was like really like coveting Billy's blanket, and I told him, I said, "I'm going to make you a blanket, and I will get that done pretty soon, because you know those blankets are pretty quick." And so his is going to be black, white, and red. But
Texas Tech.
So, but
yeah. That's pretty funny. So she also ended up giving, Bruce ended up giving his sweater that's exactly like the sweater that was supposed to be for Shannon, but now went to Billy. This gets all confusing. He gave his sweater to their son, Casey.
He did.
So Casey has Bruce's sweater. Billy has Shannon's sweater. She's still making the Ranger for Bruce, which will be Bruce's new sweater, and she's still going to make the sweater for Shannon. So I hope you can keep up with all of that.
Yeah, all the sweater,
all the crazy sweaterness.
Sweater. Oh,
yeah. So, what else are you working on?
I am working on Shyla's. I haven't even touched this since the last podcast, but this is Shyla's Ricky hat in black. So
I'll take a
this
picture.
is good podcast knitting, you know.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, but it's been really cold here lately, so Shyla's gotten you know, to wear her hats and things.
Yeah, we got snow, so everybody up north, you just make as much fun of us as you want to.
We got some real snow.
Real snow. So when I moved here to Texas, I was in 7th grade, and it was 1984. And that winter into 1985, we got 13 inches of snow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of snow. And my sister and I, we, my whole family, we had just moved here. We were still renting a house on a hill. And we had a toboggan, okay, because we used to live in New York. So I was born in Germany. We came to New York, then to California, then to Oklahoma, and then Texas. And I've been in Texas ever since 7th grade. I haven't been San Antonio, not North Texas, just dab smack in the middle, San Antonio, Texas, my entire adult life. So we had a toboggan when we moved here, and they got 13 inches of snow. And the kids just thought we were the coolest thing ever. You know, it wasn't just a sled, it was a toboggan. And so we got to use that in the whole 9 yards. And since then, we've had little sprinkles here and there, you know, as I was an adult and I had children, and, you know, nothing ever stuck. We had a real bad ice storm one year. I think it was like 2014 or 2013. I don't remember, but I mean, there was ice everywhere. The whole city closes down. I mean, we don't have enough de-icing trucks because there's no need for them here. I think we have like one that stays at the airport or something. So they were predicting some snow, and I thought, man, I don't know if the snow's going to stick. And it stuck. We got 1.9 inches of snow.
And there were some places that they were saying got 3 and 4 inches. And in Houston at my son's house, they had, because Casey and Brinley made a bet on how much snow there was, and Casey said there was 1 inch, and Brinley said there was 2. And Casey took a tape measure out there, and they got 2 inches at their house.
Wow.
And
Brinley won.
Brinley won. And they made some snowmen, and I sent Carrie a picture of their snowmen. But, you know, it's a big deal for down here because, you know, we're from the Panhandle of Texas, and the Panhandle gets lots and lots of snow. And we've lived in New Mexico where you get lots and lots of snow. But South Texas doesn't, and this was a lot of kids' very first snow, and
it was a lot.
And you know, the kids were, you know, just so excited. Well, it was a lot of, you know what? There was a lot of adults. I mean, that were younger than 85, whatever, whenever you said that was. It was their first snow, and I mean, it was a big deal for San Antonio and Houston.
It was a really big deal,
and it was really beautiful.
I think Corpus
being on the
got
trees
snow.
and
I think
stuff,
they were even saying down to the beach, Corpus got snow.
And my daughter, she was like, I moved to San Antonio, or I moved to South Texas to get out of this crap, you know?
And I said, hey now, you know.
And Bruce was like, no, that's really not why you moved to San Antonio. You moved to San Antonio because we said, pack your crap, we're moving to San Antonio. Because, you know, she was in high school when we moved here. So...
But yeah, we're a bunch of, you know, crazy little, like, kids in a candy store. I mean, we were so excited. And I actually took a little video when I drove to work the next day. I did go in late because all those people that are out there saying, you idiots don't know how to drive in the snow. Well, I'm one of them because I've never learned. I don't know how to drive in ice. I don't know how to drive in snow. I've been here my entire adult life, and we don't get it enough to practice. So I went in just a little bit later than normal on Friday, and I took a little video on the way to work because I just thought it was beautiful. In my entire adult life, I've never seen that beautiful of a scenery, and I was just in awe. So yeah, it was very exciting.
But anyway, that's why made me think of Shyla, because Shyla does wear her hats all the time, and this is another hat for her. What are you working on?
Paige's socks. They're the easiest thing to work on for the podcast, but I haven't gotten a whole lot done on them. I usually just knit on them here, or you know, if I've got a doctor's appointment that I know I'm going to, or some downtime, or if I'm really brain dead at the end of a day and I don't want to think on anything, and I just pull these out, and they're non-thinkers. But I've got quite a ways to go on these, so I'll insert some pictures of both of these. But I do have a couple of finished objects, and one of them I'm really pretty excited about. So it's my dad's Ranger.
It's beautiful.
And I have a picture of me in pajamas I blacked out my whole face because I just look terrible, that I'll insert. And it needs buttons. So that's the only thing that I don't have on it yet is the buttons, but I love it. I'm confident he's going to love it. I am not 100% confident it's going to fit him, but I'm pretty sure it's going to fit him.
I think it'll fit
him. I mean by way around. I think the sleeves are plenty long, and they may be a little bit too long, but you know, he can roll it up. They won't be 6 inches too long. And And with the weight of it, when I blocked it, it's kind of long lengthwise, but I think once he, buttons it around his waist, it kind of, will just
And if it's a little tight, you can reblock it and block it bigger.
Yeah, I can block it bigger. I can, do that.
It's just beautiful.
So I need to put some buttons on it. Darlene brought me 6 buttons today, and I said, I need 7. Don't you think you could have brought me one more?
I will look. I may have one more at home. I'll look and see.
I just need to get to the store and see if I can pick up.
But I think those buttons will look good. Don't you think? I
think they'll look great. I'll see if I can put the picture in here. But yeah, and my mom knew I was making it, but my dad doesn't know he's getting it for Christmas. And so I sent a picture to my mom. And I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to fit him. It might be a touch snug and I might have to reblock it or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it's going to fit him. She goes, if it don't fit him, I'll keep it. I was like, well, alrighty then. So then Darlene's telling me, well, now you need to make your mom a sweater. And I thought, well, I don't know what sweater my mom would want. But anyway, I'm tickled with it.
I think it's beautiful.
I love it. Thank you.
So what's your other finished one?
I have a lady at my work who is going to be a grandmother for the very first time. And this is a finished crocheted object. You know how Darlene's talking about, Billy's blanket and going to make Shannon a blanket. And Darlene and I made a few of these blankets last year for some Christmas recipients, or maybe 2 years ago, or I don't remember. But it's the bulky Bernat blanket yarn.
It's the best yarn for blankets. I love it.
And I think this one's called Bernat Baby, even though it's the same.
It's so pretty.
The same yarn. This comes in a 100-gram ball, and there's some that comes in a 150-gram ball, and there's some that comes in a 300-gram ball.
That's perfect, Carrie.
So this is baby size. She is going to be a grandmother for the first time, and she actually saw Billy's blanket in a picture somewhere, and she says, "Oh, that's gorgeous. Do you make those?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you sell them?" And I said, "Nope, I sure don't." And she goes, "Well, would you make me one for my grandbaby?"
I mean, like, no taking the hint, like, at all here.
And I said, "Well, we'll talk. We'll talk." She's the administrative assistant over in my area, and she does this really good. So I thought I can whip out something really quick. So I finished this blanket.
Well, she's gonna love it. It's beautiful.
I hope so. I think she will. I think she will. And I've been enjoying making these blankets that Darlene had. She has a bunch of different colors, and it made me go and look online and see what other colors there were. And I saw a couple projects in Ravelry that I just fell in love with.
Why did you buy that gray? You have tons of gray.
I didn't know that I had that much gray when I bought it. And I only bought 2 of them.
Okay.
Because I thought I only needed 6. And I thought I had 2 of the small ones. We're looking at my stash over here. And I've these are the 300-gram balls. They're huge. And I have some of the 150 that I usually make the blankets with. But this is going to be my next one is these 3 colors. And I'm going to try a different pattern. This is my stash enhancements. I'm not going to show all of them, but I do have another pattern. Darlene found this original pattern. I don't even think it's in Ravelry. I think it's just
I found it on YouTube when I was watching a YouTube video.
She found it on YouTube, but this one's free. This is going to be my next one, and I've already got it started.
Is it as easy as the Ripple one that we make?
It is. It's got a couple of different stitches.
I might like to make that.
Yeah, so, I mean, just barely started. I'm on my 3rd row. I think my foundation chain is a little tight, but
I think it'll be all right.
I think it'll be okay too. So, I'm gonna follow the pattern on this one. This one's just called Greyscale Blanket by Bernat, which is the colors.
And this yarn is really nice to knit with. I mean, if you like a bulky yarn and you want a quick project, it's really nice. It's so soft and
look at that crochet.
I love it.
I mean, it goes. It does go pretty quick.
So I have my pea too.
Yeah.
Well, on that line, so anyway, what I was saying was, since we're starting Carrie's talking about her whips, and I can only show this because I know my son doesn't watch the podcast, but this is for my son for Christmas. This is his blanket, and we won't open it because it's pretty big.
It's pretty large.
But it's about half. It's probably half done.
Probably.
So, so this is Billy, or Shannon's blanket. Not Shannon.
Casey's.
Casey.
It's Casey's.
Casey's blanket.
And we're talking, you know, I have like this whole shelving unit right here full of burnout yarn. So here's the different sizes. This is twice this.
And I was telling Carrie that because I'm working on a project using this big one, and I was telling Carrie I didn't like the big one because it's it's like a bowling ball every time you like pull, you know, it's
hard
so big
to find the inside pull.
It is.
So you usually have to pull from the outside.
And it just rolls and stuff. However, I was telling Carrie that I have changed my mind. I now like the size of it because I can get two full stripes.
Which is 4 rows each. Yeah.
So I can get 8 whole stripes out of the big ball, and I can't get one full stripe out of the little one. Carrie can.
I can.
But I can't. So
I think she crochets just a touch looser than I do. But yeah, I usually can. So
what else are you working on?
Well, we're on crocheting, so you really should show your crocheting stuff.
So I've kind of been on a little bit of a crochet kick lately, just because it's different and kind of fun.
It is fun. It goes faster, but it uses a lot more yarn, in my opinion. It
does, but you know, it was just whenever I was sick, I thought I'm going to teach myself to do a granny square. So I got on YouTube, and I know that all of you crocheters out there is like, that's the easiest thing in the world to make, but it took me like all day long to learn how to make a granny square.
She texted me and she's like, took me all day.
And I was sick, but still it took me all day. But I had a bunch of the I Love This yarn from Hobby Lobby in these jewel tone colors, so I just started making granny squares. Here's 2 that's not sewed together.
I'll take some pictures.
And then I was really proud of this because I made these. And I watched another YouTube, and I crocheted them together. And look how good my seams look. I just think that it looks great.
My seams in knitting don't look this great.
So
I've never really seamed up a lot in crocheting, but
so and Bruce, he was like, "That's really pretty. I like that." So I'm gonna make a whole bunch of these strips. This wide. This is as wide as it's gonna be. And then when it's all done, I'm gonna do some kind of border out of this cream. All around it.
It'll be beautiful.
I mean, it'll be one of those projects that'll take 19 years to finish, but it's just kind of fun if you have a few minutes to do something and
kick out a few squares or whatever, and then piece them together later. That always is a lot of fun.
And that's all of my crocheting.
I think I only have one other whip, and it has not gotten as much love as I wanted to give it. But as soon as I get all, my dad's Christmas knitting is done. I have some other secret knitting that I can't announce on here is done. Then I'll readjust my spreadsheet and stuff and for a new date for this. But it's my portage.
It's so beautiful. And I didn't bring mine because I'm about this far. I have literally like this much done on mine. But I just can't work on it until after Christmas.
So, I'll insert some pictures, but I'm enjoying it.
Looks like you're going to, I want your stitches to fall off.
Yeah, in the middle of a row.
Well, it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I'm in the middle of the row on this too, but this is Bruce's Ranger. The last time we podcast,
she was way down.
I was right here.
She's gotten a lot done.
I was right here on the last podcast, so I did.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, it's,
I don't know, 7 inches, 6, 7 inches, maybe even 8. I don't know. I'm not really good at that kind of stuff.
But from this one to the top, that's what I've done since the last podcast. So I think I've done a lot.
Yeah, I think you.
And then I started I have a cuff for a sleeve. But I really, before I get too involved in the sleeves, I want to get the short rows done. I want to get this ready for the sleeves. And then I want to work on the sleeves. Because I remember when you were doing yours, you said it was hard to go from in the round back to flat because of this pattern.
It is. The pattern stays the same. And you know how garter and stockinette are different, whether you're knitting in the round or if you're knitting back and forth. So, she's actually going to have to do some purls on the sleeve, and there's no pearls in the, there's no pearls in the back and forth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so,
And that is all. That's all of mine.
That's all yours. I think that might be everything that I have whip-wise, and the new blanket, the Portage, Paige's socks. But I do have one other stash enhancement. Well, two. It's December, so I'm loving all the advent calendars all over the place. And I have a David's Tea advent calendar that Darlene gave me that I showed you guys the last time. So I'm enjoying the new cup of tea every day. And then I've got all my little minis, and I'll insert a picture from my swap partner for my advent calendar mini swap. I've only done 9 so far because it's the 9th. But if you want to see them all, I have them each day on my Instagram. One of them I had to double up because I forgot a day. But there's some Woolen yarn in here that I've never tried. There's one that's Dirty on Purpose, which is, you know, it was everybody's favorite color for so long. And everybody, you know, was just snagging it up. So I'm really looking forward to, you know, doing something with all those different minis. And I know Darlene has her minis too, but she didn't bring them to show.
I didn't even think to bring them.
Yeah, her swap partner made her a really beautiful box. And my swap partner had a leftover advent calendar from when she did it the year before, and she passed that one on to me, which was nice. But I have other whips going. I just can't show them. Yeah, so some other secret knitting that we'll be able to show one day, or after everybody gets their presents. So, but I did get a nice surprise in the mail from my aunt and uncle. My aunt and uncle went to New Zealand recently.
Hate them a little bit, but
yeah, they really enjoy the traveling. And she sent me a card, and she said, "New Zealand has sheep, lots and lots of sheep. Who'd have known? Way lots of them." She said, "We went to this one farm where we stayed a couple of nights. The woman was spinning, and she sells her yarn. She spun this skein while we were sitting around talking for a few evenings. She says it's a pretty sturdy wool, and she claims there's enough for a scarf, but what do I know? Anyway, I was thinking of you. Have a great Christmas, and we'll see you at the end of January." So, because they're coming. But it's really soft, and it's, I guess, like a worsted weight, maybe between worsted and Aran. And I think it says it's an 8 to 10 ply with a needle 5 to 5.5 millimeters. It's denim and machine washable, it says. It's 97 grams and 103 meters. So I'll probably make like a hat or a cowl for her. I'm leaning towards hat because then my Uncle Jim can wear it also, depending on who's colder. But,
I think that would be nice.
But I thought it would be nice. And then they could, you know, I mean, they thought of me to buy it for me, and I'll take a picture and insert it. And I thought, well, I'll probably, you know, wind it up and maybe make a nice little hat for them. So they live in Napa. When they're not traveling in their RV all around the world and stuff, they live in Napa, California. And it's much chillier there than it is here in South Texas. So.
Well, I got a really nice surprise in the mail yesterday, too. A friend of mine that I met when we were on vacation this year in Oregon, her name is Lori, and she lives in Washington State, but she drove down to Portland to hang out with me and Leslie and Michelle and Carrie and Angelique the day, and I just thought that it was so much fun, and she's so sweet. Well, I get this in the mail. It's a pair of, I just love their little thing, the sleeve. And it's Fingerless Mitts.
I'll take a picture and insert it.
And she said in her card that she had heard me say how cold our building is. So she thought I could wear these at work whenever I'm typing. And I just think they're just beautiful. I was like beautiful. So amazed.
And that's a great Darlene color.
It's a perfect Darlene color. And I just thought, you know, it was so sweet of her to send them to me. So I just love them. And yeah, we can use them. I can use them at work because it was...
Especially when it snowed the other day and I was getting out there, and I think it took longer for my car to warm up and for me to get all the snow and ice off of it than it did for me to get to work. But I was like, man, I need to make myself some gloves. You know? I was making everything else for everybody else.
I know. We just don't make ourselves any of these things. So it was such a nice surprise, and I just love them so much.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
Thank you,
did
Lori.
A great job, Lori. Great job, Lori.
So...
Well, I think that's all we have as far as, you know, whips and knitting and the whole 9 yards. We are going to do the, is it the Knit Lifestyle? Oh, first I wanted to show you guys some pot holders.
Oh, yeah.
That I did not make these. I think I showed you a WIP where I was trying to make these. But there's this awesome crocheter on Ravelry. Her name is Denise. And I messaged her. And she actually messaged me first. And then I messaged her. And she made these pot holders for Paige.
That's a lot of pot holders.
All these
I'm not
pot
sure
holders.
Paige needs all those. I think I might need a few of those.
I'll take some pictures. And these are like the little pot tops. You know, like if you've got a glass top or a metal top and you need to get the top off of like a frying pan.
Cute.
You can put that little, you know, top on.
That's the cutest thing.
They are really cute.
Oh, they look like little
these,
hats.
Yeah, she does these for little, you know, pot tops. And then she made these bowls. You know, a lot of people sew these with fabric. These are the crochet version. So, you know,
I've never even heard of those.
And it's just like, you know, like you could put, you know, a bowl for ice cream or a hot soup or, you know, it may not fold up quite as high as, you know, fabric gets folded in. But she made 4 of these bowls.
I bet she's going to love those.
Yeah, she is going to love them. So, because they'll match everything else in the, you know, the dish towels and stuff that I made her. So I wanted to show those, and thank you.
Those are great.
Thank you, Denise. I love them, and Paige is going to love them. And Paige has been wanting to take them home, and I keep telling her I have to show them on the podcast. And she's been waiting not so patiently, but I told her I'd show them today.
We need to let her take them because it's been a
it's
been a while.
It's been a while since we've had. So before we get into the Knit Life survey, we were tagged by Lisa from Fiber Nymph Dye Works, and I think a bunch of different podcasters are tagging each other to do the Knit Life survey. I wanted to show you guys one more example of what you can do when you have like a chart on a pattern and change it up into a spreadsheet. So at Rhinebeck, there was a lady that made this sweater into a cardigan. We didn't go to Rhinebeck, but it was on the front page of Ravelry. I'm sure everybody saw it. It's called the Stag Sweater, and it has a picture of the stag deer. And this lady on Ravelry, she took it and made it into a cardigan, and she put the stag on the back, and then she used like a basic raglan in the front. And Darlene wants to make it for Shyla, and I'd love to make one for myself. And this is kind of I mean, it's a pay for pattern, and I know you're not going to be able to tell by looking at this real quick, but it's kind of, you know, it's got the stag, and it's kind of a little bit busy, and it doesn't
a whole lot busy,
and it doesn't have all the keys, so I'm not like really giving anything away.
And I wanted to make this for Shyla for Christmas, Shyla. It is cast on, but you're not getting it for Christmas, so
it's just too much to do.
I'm just not going to have time. So, but I am working on it. But this is why Carrie's like showing this. It's because Carrie, she loves me. She did this for me.
Remember I told you guys she's spoiled?
I told her, I said, can you just color code this thing for me?
So I changed it. And it's in an Excel spreadsheet. And it's larger, of course. And again, you can't see anything, you know, from here. The key isn't on here or whatever. But it makes it a lot easier to see from this with a little magnet or a piece of tape to that. And then we can put this in a PDF, and she can put it in her Knit Companion.
I've already loaded it in my Knit Companion and everything. And like I say, I really wanted to get it made for Shyla for Christmas. Peyton helped me pick out the color of the yarn, and the yarn Peyton picked out is beautiful.
It is.
But I'm just, like I say, I just don't have time to get it finished by Christmas.
It's a full sweater. I mean, it's going to, between Shannon's sweater and blankets and another sweater here and her own portage and everything, it'll be a while. But I just wanted to get it. So. I just wanted to show the different things with, you know, like the chart and stuff that you can take one chart and make it into a bigger chart, and then
and I have to say, whenever I asked Carrie to do that for me, I don't always know how she works the magic she works. And when I asked her to do that, I didn't realize she was building that pattern in Excel. Yes. Or I wouldn't have asked her to do it.
Yeah, I take it and I redo
because
it took Excel.
It was a lot of work, and I didn't really realize how much. Like I didn't know how really what links she goes to do this thing. I just know that I ask her for stuff, and it appears. You know, it's kind of it's kind of like magic. So I didn't know how much work I was really asking her to do.
But it's worth it in the long run. It really is, because from reading from this tiny little chart to having a much larger chart, and you can put it in Knit Companion, and it be
color coded. That's the thing for me that helps me.
It is
that it's color coded.
I kept telling her, I said, I don't think there's enough colors in the whole color wheel for all these different things.
There's a lot in that thing.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on. It does have a lot.
But I appreciate you doing that, because it's awesome.
So I think that's all we have for our regular podcast. We are going to do this Knit Life survey, and it is 25 questions, and it's all about knitting, and we're both going to answer them. It's probably going to take a while, and then at the very end, we have one bag to show.
I can just show it now if that's okay. I mean, it's just one bag,
and I can take a picture,
and that is it. I just being sick and everything,
and we showed the fabric before,
but that's it.
The finished bag. So if you don't want to hear about our knit life, that's fine. If you want to keep staying with us, that's even better. But like I said, we were tagged by Lisa at Fiber Nymph, and we need to tag five podcasters. So we need to think of 5 podcasters' names, but we'll start, we'll use the hashtag when I upload this video of Knit Life Survey. But the first question is, what sparked your interest in knitting?
You may go first?
Go ahead.
I've really developed an interest in learning to knit when I was about in the 7th grade. We did knitted a little scarf with just sticks in home ec for whenever I was in 7th grade. And then we never did anything else with it. And I didn't have anyone to teach me or anyone to, I mean, we just did the knit stitch, I think. I don't even think we purled it. It was just to knit back and forth. And that was my only time I ever knitted anything. And so I've always had a desire to knit. And then at work, I knew that Carrie was a knitter. We didn't know each other, but she knew of me. I knew of her, but we didn't know each other. But I would see her, bringing her stuff into work, and I'd walk by her cube, and I would see her knitting laying on her desk and stuff. And I can be kind of a bold person.
She can.
So,
but she's really quiet spoken.
Yeah.
And that's complete sarcasm.
It is. So I just went to her office one day, and I told her, I just barged into her world, and I told her, I said, my name's Darlene, will you teach me how to knit?
Yep.
And we have been joined at the hip ever since. Carrie literally got up, went home, and brought all of this stuff back to work, and she was like, okay, what yarn do you want? What needles do you want? What pattern do you want? And I was like so overwhelmed. I told her, I said, you pick the yarn, you pick the needles, you pick the pattern, you tell me what to do. And she did, and then it's just gone, snowball from there.
Snowballs.
And it was funny because, my husband, she was giving me all of this stuff, like giving me needles, giving me yarn, and Bruce said, I see where this is going. I was like, what? And he said, she's like a drug dealer. She gives you your first hit for free, and then it starts costing you money. So, how right he was.
Yes, he was. So, all that first stuff was for free, and then once you're addicted, there's no turning back.
There's no turning back.
Yeah, I got interested in knitting when I became a grandmother, when I became an Oma. And I had this little being in my hand, and I was like, I think I need to do something grandmotherly, just grandmotherly, and so I went to Walmart, and I got some yarn, and I actually started to crochet at first. And I still have that crochet blanket somewhere. I still haven't finished it, but I started to crochet my granddaughter, who is 9, a blanket. And it was going okay. And then there was this lady that lived in the neighborhood, and she ended up renting this house for me for a while. And her mother was coming into town, and her mother had made me a scarf for Christmas one year. And I said, hey, do you think if I have you and your mom over, and I get, Jaime to throw some steaks on the grill or something, could you teach me how to knit? And she said yes.
One day. We'll just learn everything you need to know one day.
Yeah, and so I did. I wanted to do that exact same stitch pattern that she had put on the scarf, which was like a basket weave look, into a blanket. So she literally showed me how to cast on, knit, and purl, and they were in groups of 3s. and kind of read my knitting. I can't tell you how many times I ripped that sucker out and started over, because I didn't watch YouTube. I didn't know about Ravelry. I didn't have a stitching bitch. I had nothing. And I just kept doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And Celeste still uses that blanket, and that's the first thing that I ever made. But that's what sparked my interest into knitting, was becoming a grandmother 9 years ago. So
I think that kind of answers the second question also.
Yeah.
How and when did you learn to knit?
Yeah. How and when did you learn to knit? So mine from my friend's mom, and her from myself. Your favorite cast-on method?
Long tail, just because for me it's the easiest and the fastest, and
I have
it's a non-thinker.
I have long tail just because I have it memorized, and I can do it without looking at a video.
Me
so.
too. Me too.
So I can do the long tail. What's your favorite type of knitting design element? Like brioche, lace, cables, color work, or whatever?
Carrie and I are so much alike in a lot of things, and we are so different in this area. Mm-hmm. I love lace, and I love cables. I love to knit cables, and I'm really interested in color work. I like there to be different elements in my knitting, because I get bored if there's not. So I love cables, because cables looks like you've really done something hard that is not hard.
It's pretty easy.
Now lace is a different deal. Lace looks hard because it is hard. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people that would disagree that love lace, you know, but when you don't do it all the time, you know, it can be challenging.
You know, when I knit Shyla's wedding shawl, you know, that was all lace, and it looks really, really hard. So I'm kind of like going back on what I just said here, because her wedding shawl looked really, really difficult, and it was really easy, but because it was, you know, just simple repeats and stuff, but it was all lace.
Small, simple repeats.
I do enjoy lace, but I think my favorite would be cables.
So I have, as my answer, I do love brioche, because I love the look of it. If I had to pick an element, but I think if you've watched any of the podcasts, you know, I'm really just a simple knitter. I love things that are just plain knit, whether it's knitting in the round and they're all knit stitches, or if it's garter going back and forth. I love the mindlessness, because a lot of times I'm just not paying attention. I'm just zoned out, or I'm really into a movie, and you know, I'm watching that movie and, you know, moving around or whatever, and I kind of knit faster. You know, and maybe a little tighter sometimes too, which isn't always a good thing. So sometimes I just don't want to have to pay attention. Well, a lot of times I don't want to have to pay attention. I just want to knit. So I think I just love the process more, and just plain knit. I don't even care to purl that much. So just plain knitting for me. But what's your favorite project you have ever knit?
Hands down, Shyla's shawl.
Yeah, so that's the wedding shawl, and I can put a picture in, and mine is probably either my Novum or my Find Your Fade, which are both very simple knits. I wear my Novum a lot. It's a very large lace weight shawl that's a large rectangle with some ruffles on the end, by Martina Bem, I think is how it's said. And I made it years ago, but I do love it. And then, you know, the Find Your Fade shawl, it's just really mostly garter. It does have some lace sections just to, you know, switch it up a little bit here and there, which I don't mind, because those are pretty simple lace sections. But those two, I think, would have to, they come in a close tie. So, you know, that's probably it. How many projects do you have in your Ravelry queue?
I don't use my Ravelry queue, so...
I have 505, and I put down, don't judge. I use my Ravelry queue for a lot of stuff. I like it because I can search through it. So if I like the pattern and I think I might want to make it one day, I'll put it in my Ravelry queue. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna make it one day, but I might want to. And then later, if I find like a yarn that I have to have, or if I want to use a certain yarn in my stash, or I feel like knitting with worsted over fingering at some point, I just search in my Ravelry queue as to, well, what do I have that's supposed to be made in DK, and what do I have that's supposed to be made in worsted or whatever. So yeah, I have 505, and Yeah, don't judge me. So, what is your favorite weight of yarn to work with?
I think that is really a hard question, because it depends on my mood. I mean, I guess if I had to like answer it, probably fingering, but I do enjoy knitting with DK, and I do enjoy knitting with worsted. So
I think I answered pretty much the same. I really do not have a favorite. I need the variety, so possibly middle of the road DK. And I'm gonna put these answers, these questions, and these answers in a thread, because we want to know the same stuff about you, even though you guys aren't. You know, I think we're supposed to tag like a podcaster or whatever. You guys aren't podcasting. Just reply in Ravelry, you know, or in the thread or whatever, because we want to know about your knit life also. So, yeah, I'll copy these and put them in there. But what was your first knitting project?
My first knitting project, or my first real, like, knitting project?
We'll go ahead with real.
Okay. So, I mean, we all start, our first one's probably a hat, so we won't go with that one. But once Carrie's taught me the basics, you know, she was such a wonderful teacher. You know, she picked things for me to do that had different elements in it. And she picked this really pretty scarf that was made out of Line Brand homespun. Yeah, it was kind of a slick yarn. But
or it might have even been Woolies.
I think it was Woolies.
Woolies. It's a thick, bulky yarn.
And it was a sweater that was probably, I mean, not a sweater, a scarf that was about probably 8 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
And it had everything in it. It had cables, and it had baubles, and it had lace, and it had, you know, all of this stuff in it. And I learned so much from that scarf.
Mm-hmm.
And Carrie was great, because, you know, she, I mean, probably for the first 6 or 8 months of my knitting life, I didn't pick out anything to knit. I mean, Carrie told me everything to knit, and she always picked out things that I would learn something on. Mm-hmm. So, but that was my first thing, was that red scarf.
Mine was the blanket for my granddaughter that I made in that basket weave thing. So, what is the longest time you have had a half-finished project in hibernation? What is it? When did you cast it on? And do you still want to finish it?
Probably, I'm going to say probably our Trejour sweater.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. We're both making a Trejour sweater.
And I do want to finish it.
Mm-hmm. I want to finish my Trejours also. My answer is a second blanket, just like the one that I made for my granddaughter. I made my granddaughter's, I actually held 2 skeins of Caron Simply Soft together. So one yarn of each, in one pink and one white. I think it's like a mauve or something in white. And I knit them together. Not stranded work or color work, just held them together like they were one yarn. And my daughter really liked it, you know, at the time. And she wanted one in blue and white. And I started one in blue and white, and I have like more than half of it done. And I think one of the reasons that I haven't really frogged it is because I have so much of it done, and I don't even know if Paige still wants it or not. But yeah, I kind of still do want to finish it. I'm actually kind of a little bit curious as to how the knitting would change, because, you know, the beginning parts of it are probably fairly sloppy. Mm. You know, I mean, I wasn't a very good knitter when I started this, and I'd like to think that I've improved. So, you know, the second part of it, I'd be curious, you know, probably look like 2 completely different blankets. But yeah, that's probably what I've had on the longest. What is the largest project you have ever knit?
Shala's wedding shawl. Mm-hmm. It was it was almost 4,000 yards.
Yeah,
of fingering weight yarn.
I made a breezy cardigan for my daughter, and it was 1,960 yards. So that was probably my biggest. What is the worst and just overall bad, didn't want to work out thing you've ever knit, and explain what went wrong?
I can't think of a single thing that's ever been bad. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, because
I don't know.
I can't think of anything.
Is there anything you just didn't enjoy? You're like, oh my God, I'm ready to throw this whole thing away. Mine is the Converse slippers that I just recently finished for my aunt. And it's not that anything really went wrong. It just, you know, mirrors and mimics everything that I've already said. I don't like thinking. There was a lot of detail in that, but it's the detail that makes the project. So I understand the reason for it, but it was worsted weight yarn on size 3 needles, maybe 5, just small needles. It made it hard, but you know, that's how it was meant to be. That's the gauge it was meant to be. And then, you know, I had to like do a crochet thing around, and you know, just the little embellishments around to make the look of the Converse sneaker, and the I-cord shoelaces. And then, you know, you made a sole separate from a sock, and then you put the sock in the sole, and then you had to seam it together. And I don't like seaming. I don't like all that tedious little stuff. I just want to knit. So I guess I'm a little bit lazy. I just want to knit. So that would be my answer.
Okay, so as you was talking, I thought of my worst ever project that I hated doing, and I still have to do it again, was that sweater of Kagan's. Because there was nothing about that project that worked, that was enjoyable.
And the pattern was bad.
And so
and she's got to make one more for Brindley.
And I have to make one more. And I need to have that made before the 6th of January. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, that would be my worst project that I did not enjoy.
So what's your favorite kind of project to make? Like socks, sweaters, shawls, etc.?
I guess probably shawls. Shawls and hats.
I put right now socks because of the mindlessness, but I'm hoping to knit more sweaters and blankets this next year.
Well, I hope to do that too, but...
And I'm hoping to not make so many shawls. I think I jump on the shawl bandwagon because I see a mystery cowl, or I want to knit along with this person, and I want to do this knit along, and everybody's doing this knit along, and I want to knit that one too, and all this other stuff. And it's usually, you know, fairly quick project. There are some really large shawls out there, but I have so many shawls that I don't wear.
Me too. And I don't like small shawls.
And we've, you know, our tastes have changed. So in the beginning, we did make some fairly small shawls, and we've given away most of them. Some of them I still love, and I still have them, but I've realized that I like the larger things, you know, to really, you know, not a small girl, to really wrap around me. I don't wear a whole lot of just cowls or neck stuff. So I want to try and make some more sweaters. I may not get a whole lot of wear out of sweaters because we're in South Texas, but I'd like to make some more sweaters and blankets this next year. So what is your favorite type of fiber to work with?
Wool.
I put that I love to work with cashmere, but I hate that it's not washable, so I usually turn to a soft washable merino wool, kind of like Malabrigo Rios, like my...
Well, that's what I meant, like this kind of thing.
You know, my dad's Ranger. So that's what I usually go to, but while I'm knitting, I really love that feel of cashmere.
Oh my gosh, me too.
It's super soft, but I don't always like the finished item afterwards, because I've made some cashmere socks, and you know, they got in the wash on accident.
And they peel.
You know, and they do peel, and, you know, they kind of felt and stuff like that. So while I enjoy knitting with cashmere, I probably knit more with just superwash merino wool. This is an easy question. Are you a self-proclaimed yarn snob?
Yes.
So,
actually, I am because of Carrie.
She is. So there was this... one time when she was first starting to knit, and I think she was knitting socks.
For Trenton.
And I don't remember what yarn it was that she was using.
It was just some, Croy, I think.
Sock yarn, and she texts me in the middle of the evening, and she says, "This doesn't feel right. It like hurts my hands, and it's, you know, itchy." And I said, "Well, what color is it?" And I'll bring you something tomorrow. So the next day I brought her a skein of Malabrigo sock yarn in the same type of green. It was a dark forest green. And I brought her a sticker, like a bumper sticker, and it says like certified yarn snob or something. And I said, "Yep, you're a yarn snob."
I do like me some good yarn.
So I put absolutely I am a yarn snob.
Me
but
too.
I did also put, and I know Darlene feels the same way, I firmly believe there is a time, place, and pattern for all yarn. I mean, I have polyester, I have rayon, I have nylon, I have acrylic in some bins, I have wool, you know, I have all sorts of stuff. And you know, you're just not going to make a child's sweater in a cashmere wool blend or silk.
And not just a child. I won't make Shyla, my 34-year-old daughter, anything that can't be washed.
Because she's going to wash it all.
You know, Shyla's so busy, you know, and she's asked me not to. She was like, Mom, if it can't be washed, just don't make it. Because I'm going to end up washing it.
Right.
And so, you know, I do agree with Carrie. There's, you know, a time and a place for all yarn, all yarn types.
Yeah, I agree. What is your dream knitting retreat or fiber festival to attend?
I think Rhinebeck, just because, Rhinebeck. You know, there's so much hoopla about Rhinebeck, so, you know, I would like to experience that sometime.
I think I would too. And that's what I put, absolutely, Rhinebeck. What is the oldest yarn in your stash?
Oh my gosh. You know, I think it was probably my mustache sweater yarn, my yellow mustache sweater yarn. It's probably my oldest.
My oldest yarn in my stash is Karen Simply Soft, because when I first learned to knit and I wanted to make that blanket for Celeste and of course the blanket for Paige, I think Walmart had a sale on Karen Simply Soft yarn and I bought up a ton of it. I mean a ton of it. And so I've sold some of it over the years or given some of it away, and I've kept some larger quantities for, you know, blankets and stuff in same colors, but that's definitely probably my oldest stash yarn. I also got on that pom-pom blanket craze, which I made Darlene get into for a while, so I have some pom-pom blanket that's probably pretty old too. So, are you a gifty knitter or a selfish knitter?
I am not a selfish knitter.
She's not.
I mean, I tend to like let things languish if they're for me.
She does.
And I get right on it if it's for, you know, my husband or one of the kids or grandkids or somebody. So I'm a gift knitter.
I am a selfish knitter. Don't get me wrong. I give gifts. You know, if somebody needs something and I need to get a gift out for somebody, I do gift knit. And, you know, my dad's Ranger and I want to make something for my mom, and you know, probably I've made socks for my sister and my niece. I don't think I've made anything for my brother-in-law and my nephew. But I do gift knit, but overall, I'm a selfish knitter. I like to knit for me. So, what do you like to watch or listen to while you knit? Do you listen to books, music, TV, movies, vlogs, podcasts? List your favorites if you want.
I think I've liked all of those things. You know, if Bruce is home, we watch TV, you know, and, you know, I really don't care what I watch because I'm a terrible TV watcher. I don't pay attention, and then something exciting will happen. I'll be going, why'd that happen?
And that's the kind of TV knitter that drives me nuts because I'm a pay attention knitter.
Well, and that's Bruce, but Bruce is so patient. You know, he just tells me what's going on and then he rewinds it, and, you know, but if I'm home by myself, I will, you know, watch a podcast while I'm knitting, or maybe listen to a book. I don't usually just listen to music while I'm knitting.
I like to binge watch something when I'm knitting. That would be my favorite thing to do. Now, what do I do while I do knit? You know, I Netflix or Amazon or just the news or whatever's on. Football. I love football. I'll watch podcasts if there's nothing on TV. On my TV, if I'm at work, I'll, you know, listen to podcasts while I'm working or whatever. But as far as knitting, my favorite thing to do is to binge watch a series. Like, I like the crime and mystery, which she does not like at all.
No, you know, we watch those.
Well, I guess I like it in my books too, but you don't ever listen to it. Yeah, so I listen to it in my books also. You know, like James Patterson and David Baldacci and stuff. But I like to, you know, How to Get Away with Murder, 24, Designated Survivor. I do watch Grey's Anatomy and stuff. But I like to find a series like on Netflix or Hulu or something where I can just like binge watch from season 1 to 12. Yeah, it'll take me months, but I enjoy doing that. So, do you prefer wood needles or metal?
Metal.
Metal. Me too. Is there a pattern or project that you have knit more than one time just for fun?
Well, I mean, I've knit, several Ricky hats, several sockhead hats. Mm-hmm. I've knit a couple of the Find Your Fades, which I really love that pattern. And if we do knit shawls next year, I can see myself knitting more of those.
I could knit one of those again. I've made several Way-It shawls.
Oh, I have too.
Yeah.
But I don't wear them.
I've worn one or two here or there. Yeah. So. And I am making a second Nuvum that I really love knitting that the first time. I wear it a lot, and I'm enjoying the second one. So I mean, it's kind of pushed to the side for now, but I'm looking forward to knitting it. So, do you have other hobbies?
Ride motorcycles.
Sewing in your bags.
Sewing, that's not a hobby. That's my other job.
That's her other job.
It used to be a hobby until it became a business.
And crocheting, I guess.
Yeah, crocheting and riding motorcycles, and
mine's really just crocheting, and I'm just not as good at crocheting, I think, than I am at knitting. I guess I just don't enjoy it as much, but I do get in those kicks, like like we kind of have been lately with blankets and stuff. So, what is your favorite snack?
Oh my gosh, I love popcorn, so I guess popcorn.
I love popcorn also. I love Doritos with cheese, like queso, like soft Tostitos cheese, or I love jerky.
I love jerky.
Popcorn. Do you have pets? If so, tell us about them.
We have one dog. Her name is Susie, and she owns the house and allows us to live with her. And she's spoiled rotten. And I was telling Carrie that when my husband was out of town for a couple of days this past week, and we don't have a TV in our bedroom, and so whenever I went to bed, I would take my iPad and I was watching Netflix on my iPad, and she would come out from under the cover and knock my iPad over. She was like, enough's enough. If you're going to watch TV, go in the living room.
Go in the living room. This is the bedroom. You're not supposed to be watching Netflix in here.
So she is like totally and completely rotten. And she's the rudest dog. If you come to my house, she will be sad to see you come, and she will walk you to your car when you leave.
Wagging her tail. And panting.
Yeah, it's
know how most dogs do when you get there? She does that when you're leaving.
That's true. She does.
I have one dog. Her name is Precious. She's a Yorkie, and she's been on the podcast. I think Peyton held her for a while. And I used to have, last year, I also had a Chihuahua and a miniature Dachshund, and I lost them both last year, and I'm thinking about getting another Dachshund. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it yet or not, but Precious has been doing okay as a spoiled little girl.
But you miss having a weenie dog.
I do miss having a weenie dog. I do miss it. But I also know that I want to get, I'm not anywhere near ready for retirement, but do I want to get a whole nother dog, for another, next 14 years? Maybe we want to travel more and I don't have anybody to watch the dog, or, kind of some of the problems you're running into with Susie,
I understand.
As you're ready to do more things in life. I just haven't decided if I want to get another dog, to keep me tied down at home, like I am with Precious. So. And last but not least, coffee or tea?
I like them both, but I guess if I had to pick one over the other one, it would be coffee.
I like them both too, and I'm not sure that I could pick one over the other. I'm a coffee in the first thing in the morning person, but then I'm tea all the rest of the day, and it can be hot tea or cold sweet tea or whatever. So, and I think that's the last question.
Do we need to tag people now, or do we tag them in?
Well, do you have your subscription list up? We can just tag.
Yeah, I was thinking Sue from she's Crafty Knitter 7, her podcast.
Okay.
Can tag her, and then tag the By the Lakeside.
By the Lakeside.
So that's 2.
And then, of course, we have to do the Naughty Knitwits. Have they done it yet?
I don't know.
I'm watching. I'm in the middle of their last one, and I don't think they've done it yet. So we'll do the Naughty Knitwits.
And Carrie.
And Carrie, Creative Obsession.
And Jeanette.
Jeanette, Bookish Stitcher. So I think that's 5. All right. So you've been tagged, and I'll tag you in Ravelry too, and send you the questions and stuff. So. But that's probably a long podcast. I don't know how long it's been. My camera doesn't really tell me. But
I know, but it's 2:20.
Yeah. So it's been
But
warm.
we don't know. We should podcast again like Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Like the 23rd.
And we're not positive we'll get that done, but that's our goal. If we do, we'll see you then. If not, we'll see you after Christmas.
Yeah, and hopefully before the new year. But if we do see you after Christmas, have a very, very merry, wonderful Christmas. But hopefully we'll see you guys on the 23rd.
That's going to be our goal. We're going to try. So
for the 23rd. So have a great week.
Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.